Hi guys, Anne here again. So this time we're going to do a Rainbow Twistie. And this one I'm going to try and make small, thin, I guess not small, but thin. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a base of clear, and then I'm going to swipe on swipes of the rainbow colors. So I use medium red, let's see, orange. The yellow I like to use is acid yellow. This one happens to be sea green, I think. You've got to find a green that stays true to a color that you like. And then this is a light lapis blue, and this is grape ape. I prefer the purple lapis, but I can't find it anymore, so now I've switched over to using grape ape. It's alright. It's not my favorite, but it's not bad. So, and then I'm going to need a pair of nippers and some punties. Now, because my little guys are pretty short, I'm going to use my rod holder as well. You might want a handheld marver as well. But since I'm going to do this pretty thin, I want a thin twisty. I'm not going to make it super large, because if you start making if you want to make a thin one and you have a huge glob of glass on your end of your marver here, you're going to end up with a inability to continue twisting and pulling it to make it as thin as you want it to be. So I'm going to make my core of white. I do that for a couple of reasons. Mostly the reason being that I want to have something to swipe my colors onto. I don't want to waste all of my colors just being in the center of this cane. It doesn't need to be that way. So I'm going to make this just a little bit bigger. I suggest when you're first starting to make twisties, though, that you start smaller rather than larger, because you want to have good heat control. And the bigger your glob gets, the more out of control it can get. Alright. So there we go. I've got a nice sized gather that I've turned into a cylinder at the end of my bead. Now my red is getting a little short, so I'm going to go ahead and put it in my holder here. And I don't want a huge raised red glob on here, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to, at the tip of this white, I'm going to adhere my red glass, and I'm going to swipe down. I want all of my colors to be adhered to this tip end of my white. And I don't want to swipe it super thin. I want to get a fair amount of the red on there. But I also don't want it to be raised up above my white. I want it to sink down into that white. Alright, so there's my red stripe. I'm going to go ahead and do my orange. Now, one of the things you can think about now is, do you want to have a swipe of white between each one of your colors? Sometimes you do. If you do, this would be the time to do it. If you don't want a swipe of white in between each of your colors, then go ahead and skip this step. But I'm just going to go ahead and show you how that's done. You want to do just a small amount of white and swipe it right along that red. And that will give you for sure, okay, and you can see it's nice, it's super thin. And that'll give you a for sure white line in between each one of them. If you do it and you just try and leave a little space between your colors, sometimes that'll work and you'll get that white line, but not always. So if you want to make sure that you get the white line, then you want to put one in on purpose. All right, and that's a swipe of the orange. Now what you'll see is after I've swiped it on, if it didn't adhere to that mandrel down below, the punty down below, I go ahead and I add a little dot of the color so that it does adhere. That way I don't have to cap it off or do any, you know, extra fancy stuff to make sure all of those colors are in all of my twisty. Okay, so you can see that white line between my red and my orange, so I'm going to go ahead and do another white line. And again, this core, you can hear how hard it is because I don't want it to be super hot. I need it to be on the cool side. I want it to stay on my punty, so it has to be hot enough, but you don't want it to be so hot that when you add the glass to it, that it moves, okay? So now I'm just doing another swipe of my white glass down the side of that orange. And that way I make sure that I'm going to have a white line between my rainbow colors. Now we're on to the yellow. Again, I'm swiping it. And I'm at a 90-degree angle when I swipe it on because I want to leave as much of the glass on there as I can. And the more acute your angle, if you're pushing from this way, then you're going to leave just a little bit, you're going to put a little bit of glass on your base. If you're at a 90-degree angle, you'll leave more of the glass on there. So you can see, and I'm going to add that white right here so that I have a line of white between my next color and this one. Alright, this white is misbehaving and cracking all the time. So before I get too far and make too much of a mess, I'll just stop and go back. There we go. Alright, so now I have a line of white that I know will show up. We're going to go to the green. This time my green didn't go all the way, I didn't start it all the way up in the center here, so I just want to go back and add a little bit there. Easier to fix the problem right when you make it, as opposed to trying to go back and fix it later. So now I need to make a line of white there. Again, this whole time, this is nice and hard. It's not getting mushy on me at all, but it's staying warm enough to stay attached to the mandrel and not pop off any of its parts. Okay, so now I see I need to make a line of white here where the red is. And I have touched my white that was nice and warm, so I've got to get it off. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead now before I get to adding too many more of these swipes, because otherwise it'll get too close and I won't be able to put that white line in there. So I do that now. Now I've got both sides have the white on there. I'm going to go ahead and do my blue stripe. My glass is just popping today. It's cool here. I think it was only going up to 40 today. So definitely find that glass pops a little bit more when it's cooler to begin with. There we go. And when you're doing these rainbow canes with so many different colors, you're going to find what colors work well for you to make them and what colors don't work so well. These are the ones I tend to go with. I do like the cobalt blue as my blue sometimes. That one works well. And I used to always use spring green, but now, lately, the last couple of spring green colors that I've gotten have been very, they turn very, I don't know, not a pretty green. Not like the green that they used to be. And then this is my last swipe. And the reason that I made that white stripe already against the red was because it was going to get hard to get in between the purple and the red. Now my purple rod is a little skinny, so it didn't leave enough of a color on there. Okay, there we go. It's got white stripes between each color, so that way I know that they're all going to have a white stripe between them. And I'm ready to punty up. First I want to look at the top here. Are all of my colors coming through on the top? Can I see them all going in the center? And I'm just going to heat them up a little bit and make sure that they're all coming to the center. This yellow here doesn't look quite as centered as I would like. And you can pull a little bit off of it so that you can see a little bit better. That looks good. Now I want to make sure that all of my colors are adhered down here to this punty. It looks like my red needs a little bit of love. Pull that down. Alright, so they're all adhered. They come to a nice point there. Go ahead and heat up this point and heat up my mandrel. And marry the two together and go up, down, right, left. Now they're all nice and centered and ready to be heated up. And when I'm heating up my twisties or my marini or whatever I am making that has a large gather and two punties attached to it, I like to come at it from all angles. So move your arms around. Come at it from one punty, then come at it from the other punty, then come at it from the middle. It heats it up faster and it heats it up more evenly. Now the more colors you get on a twisty, the more likely it is that you are going to come out with some colors being more dominant on your twisty than others. Happens to everybody. Don't get frustrated with it. Just learn which colors work the best with each other and stick with them. Alright, so now my little guy feels like it is heated through. I'm going to go ahead and do my test. Does it squish in all together? Does it pull out all together? The answer is yes. Is it super liquidy in the center? No, but it also had lost a lot of heat on the ends from me putzing around with it. So what I'm going to do is heat up those two ends again, do my little test, and then run with it. So I'm going to pull one way, or twist one hand one way, the other hand goes the other direction, and I pull as I twist because I want this to be a fairly thin twisty. The harder you pull while you're twisting, the thinner your twisty gets. Okay, so that's a nice thin little rainbow twisty. Go ahead and turn off my flame and use my nipper here and make a ruckus. And I will show you this without my titanium shield on later. I'll put these all up on the page so that you can see the types of twisties I'm showing you how to make. I hope you have fun making these. Bye-bye.